So, good morning, friends. Today we are going to discuss about the construction and working of air cylinders. So, friends, different types of cylinders are available, used in different situations. So let us note down the construction and arrangement of various cylinders used in different situations. And friends, these cylinders, it is cylinder, it is a very important component of hydraulic circuit and as well as a pneumatic circuit. So if the cylinder is used in hydraulic circuit, it is it is referred to as a hydraulic cylinder. And if it is used for operating a pneumatic circuit, so it is referred to as a pneumatic cylinder or air cylinder. So friends, basically, hydraulic cylinders, they are also called as oil cylinders. And similarly, pneumatic cylinders, they are also referred to as air cylinders. And sometimes they are also called as motors, or also they are referred to as actuators. So items used in hydraulic circuit, they are referred to as hydraulic motors or hydraulic actuators, and items used in pneumatic circuits, they are referred to as pneumatic actuators or air actuators. Or they are also called as motors. So whatever may be the case, these are the different names given to these items. Cylinders are also called as motors. Also, they are referred to as actuators. And items used in hydraulic circuit, they are referred to as hydraulic cylinders or hydraulic motors or hydraulic actuators. And items used in pneumatic circuits, they are referred to as air cylinders or air motors or air actuators. So friends, in this class, we are going to discuss about the types of air cylinders, and also the construction and arrangement of different cylinders. So friends, basically, cylinders are classified into two categories, single acting and double acting cylinders. So in this figure, we can see the arrangement of single acting and double acting cylinders. So single acting cylinder shown in the left hand side of the diagram, and we can find the double acting cylinder in the right hand side of the diagram. And secondly, in the first case, fluid will be acting only on one side of the cylinder or one side of the piston. So therefore, that is, it will be acting only on left hand side of the piston. So therefore, they are referred to as single acting cylinders. So that means here in the first item, fluid will be entering and leaving the cylinder from the left hand side of the piston. So fluid will be acting only on one side of the piston. So therefore, it is called as a single acting cylinder. So now, because it is acting, because the fluid is acting only on one side of the cylinder, so therefore, one port is sufficient for operating single acting cylinder. So that is called as cylinder port. So it is made on the left hand side of the piston. And finally, two-way and three-way DC valves. So they are provided with only one, outlet ports. So therefore, they are only suitable for operating single-acting cylinders. So in such a situation, the outlet of the DC valve will be connected to the port of the cylinder. So pipeline will be used for connecting the outlet of the DC valve to the port of the cylinder. So therefore, fluid will be entering and leaving the cylinder through this particular port. So therefore, fluid will be acting only on one side of the piston. So therefore, they are referred to as single acting cylinders. And secondly, fluid pressure is used for performing the forward stroke of the piston, and spring pressure will be used for performing the return stroke of the piston. So friends, return spring is very essential for operating a single acting cylinder. So you can see the arrangement of the return spring that is arranged in between the right hand side of the piston and right end of the cylinder. So this is about the principle. This is about the construction of a single acting cylinder. So fluid will be acting on only on one side of the piston. It's called as single acting cylinder. And fluid pressure will be used for moving the piston in forward direction. The spring pressure will be used for moving the piston in reverse direction. So this is about the arrangement of single acting cylinders. Now coming to the double acting cylinder, as the name itself implies, fluid will be acting on both the sides of the piston. So that means fluid will be entering and leaving from both the sides of the piston. So therefore, it is called as a double acting cylinder. So in the case of a double acting cylinder, fluid will be entering from the left hand side of the piston and it will be leaving from the right hand side of the piston for performing the forward stroke of the piston. And similarly, for performing return stroke of the piston, fluid will be entering from the right hand side of the cylinder and it will be leaving from the left hand side of the cylinder. So as a whole, fluid will be acting, entering and leaving from both the sides of the piston. In other words, fluid will be acting on both the sides of the piston. So therefore, it is referred to as a a double acting cylinder. So therefore, in this case, fluid pressure is not only used for performing the forward stroke of the piston, but also it is used, fluid pressure is also used for performing the backward stroke of the piston. So friends, we do not need a return spring is not required for operating a double acting cylinder, but this return spring is very essential for performing the operation of a single acting cylinder. So friends, as a whole, in the case of single acting cylinder, fluid pressure will be moving the piston in forward direction and spring pressure will be moving the piston in reverse direction. And in the case of double acting cylinder, fluid pressure will be moving the piston in forward direction, and also the fluid pressure will be moving the piston in reverse direction also. So therefore, I mean, this way we have to realize the basic differences between single acting and double acting cylinders. And in the first item, one port is made on the left hand side of the piston. But whereas in the case of a double acting cylinder, we have to provide two ports. So first port is made on the left hand side of the piston, and the second port it is made on the right hand side of the piston. So one port is sufficient for operating a single acting cylinder, but whereas we have to provide two ports. Two ports are very essential for operating a double acting cylinder. And finally, this double acting cylinder, it is having, I mean, two ports. So therefore, four-way and five-way valves are used for controlling double acting cylinders. So in the sense, four-way and five-way valves are provided with two outlets. So four-way valve will be having two outlets, and five-way valve will be also having two outlets. So therefore, these items are only, I mean, suitable for controlling double acting cylinders. So therefore, the first port of the cylinder is connected to the first outlet of the DC valve, and second port of the cylinder will be connected to the second port of the DC valve. So friends, a single acting cylinder is having only one port, and two-way and three-way valves are only having one outlet. So therefore, two-way and three-way valves are only suitable for controlling single acting cylinders. Similarly, in the case of double acting cylinder, we are putting two ports for double acting cylinders, and therefore four-way and five-way valves will be having two outlet ports. Therefore, these items are used for controlling double acting cylinders. So friends, two-way and three-way valves will be having only one outlet port. So therefore, they are suitable only for controlling single acting cylinders. And similarly, four-way and five-way valves will be having two outlet ports. So therefore, they are used only for controlling, they are suitable only for controlling double acting cylinders. So friends, this is the, I mean, complete arrangement of single acting and double acting cylinders. And in both the cases, we can see the arrangement of the piston that is fitted to a piston rod. And finally, the piston rod will be fitted to the tool of the machine. So therefore, when the piston is moving in to and fro directions, naturally the tool, all these items, the piston rod as well as the tool of the machine will be also moving in to and fro directions. So this way, these cylinders basically they are used for operating the tools of machines in to and fro directions in forward and backward directions. And in some cases, this piston rod is fitted to a connecting rod that will be coming in contact with the spindle of the machine, and therefore this connecting rod will be converting reciprocating motion of the piston into rotary motion of the spindle. So using connecting rod mechanism, these cylinders can be also used for rotating the spindles of machines. So friends, these cylinders, on one hand, these cylinders can be used for moving tools in forward and backward directions. And with the help of a connecting rod mechanism, the same cylinders, same items can be also used for rotating the spindles of machines. So friends, we have to be careful with the construction of these two items, and also arrangement of cylinder ports and proper usage of DC valves, two-way and three-way valves only for single acting cylinders. They have only one outlet, so only suitable for single acting cylinders. Four-way and five-way DC valves, they have two outlet ports, only suitable for controlling double acting cylinders. So here two-way, three-way valves will be having only one outlet port that will be connected to the single port of the cylinder. But whereas in the case of four-way and five-way valves, first outlet will be connected to the first port of the cylinder and the second outlet will be connected to the second port of the cylinder. So friends, we should also, know about the control of these cylinders. So two-way and three-way valves should be used, must be used only for controlling single acting cylinders. Four-way and five-way valves only, they're only suitable for controlling the operation of double acting cylinders. So friends, we have to be thorough with all these aspects so pertaining to single acting and double acting cylinders. So friends, these are the types of cylinders used in fluid power systems. The first one, single acting cylinder, double acting cylinder, double rod and cylinder, gravity return cylinder, diaphragm cylinder, telescopic cylinder, held either in horizontal or in vertical position. And we have ram cylinders. And of course, apart from all these things, we also have duplex and tandem cylinders, which will be discussed, separately. So friends, as a whole, we have around 10 varieties of cylinders, but the first two items are generally used in most of the cases. and all other items they are used in special situations. So friends, we have just now we have covered the various aspects of single acting and double acting cylinders. We have discussed about the construction and working of single acting and double acting cylinders. So they are used in normal situations. And as I've already told you just now, all other items generally they are used in special situations. So friends, whatever may be the case, these are the various types of cylinders available in market. So friends, this is the arrangement of another cylinder that is called as a double rod cylinder or a double rod end cylinder. So generally we have talked about, we have seen the arrangement of single acting and double acting cylinders. So piston rod will be provided only on the right hand side of the piston. So, but whereas here one more piston rod is placed on the left hand side of the piston. So it is provided with two piston rods. So obviously it is referred to as a double rod and cylinder. So these two rods, they are very, essential for operating duplex and tandem cylinders. So just now we have noted down the types of cylinders. Lastly, we have talked about duplex and tandem cylinders. So in such cases, provision of two piston rods is very essential for operating duplex and tandem cylinders. So in such cases, we have to provide one piston rod will be coming on the right hand side of the piston, and another piston rod, another rod will be coming on the left hand side of the piston. So friends, unlike single and double acting cylinders, here piston rod is provided, piston rods are provided on both the sides of the piston, one rod on the right hand side of the piston and another piston rod on the left hand side of the piston. So two piston rods are provided, are needed for operating duplex and tandem cylinders. Also, even otherwise, these piston rods, two piston rods, are maybe they can be used for providing certain amount of balancing of the piston that is moving inside the cylinder. So two piston rods will be providing more balancing of the piston that is arranged inside the cylinder. So whatever may be the case, so here we are seeing, two piston rods. So therefore, it is called as a double rod cylinder. Also, they are referred to as double rod and cylinders. So one rod is placed at one end of the piston, another rod is placed at another, fitted to another end of the piston. So therefore, they are also called as double rod and cylinders. Simply, they are also called as double rod cylinders. And friends, we can see these two ports. This is the first port of this cylinder and the second port of this cylinder. So fluid will be acting on both the sides of the piston. So secondly, if the fluid is entering from left side of the piston, it will be leaving from right side of the piston as shown in the figure. So that is used for performing the forward stroke of the piston. And on the other hand, if it is entering from the right hand side of the piston, it will be leaving from left hand side of the piston. So that will be used for performing the return stroke of the piston. So here, friends, two piston rods are provided on both the sides of the piston. So therefore, they are referred to as double rod and cylinders. And friends, here we can see the arrangement of a diaphragm cylinder. So as the name itself implies, diaphragm is used as a moving element. In all other cases, we are using pistons as moving elements, but here a diaphragm is used as a moving element. So simply it is called as a diaphragm cylinder. But the thing is, this diaphragm will be covering, small, distances. So they are used only in special situations. So this diaphragm is arranged inside the casing of the cylinder. One end of the diaphragm is exposed to the pressure of the fluid that is coming from the compressor, and another end of the diaphragm is fitted to the piston rod that is placed on the right hand side of this cylinder. So friends, whatever may be the case, the principle of operation is one and the same, but the pistons will be covering a very large distance when compared to diaphragms. So diaphragms are capable only for covering small distances, but it will be exerting maximum amount of force. It will be giving maximum amount of energy to the tool of the machine. So, but it will be covering small distances so far as movements of these items are concerned. So whatever may be the case, depending upon the moving element, we have to name these cylinders. So if a piston is moved, is used as a moving element, it's called as a piston cylinder. And here diaphragm is used as a moving cylinder. So therefore, they are referred to as diaphragm cylinders. And friends, here we can see the arrangement of cylinders placed, the cylinders arranged in vertical position. So this is one arrangement, and this is another arrangement. This is called as a push type of cylinder, and this is referred to as pull type of cylinder. So friends, vertical cylinders, they are classified into two categories: push type and pull type cylinders. So we can see the single port that is made at the bottom of the cylinder, and here also that port of the cylinder that is made at the bottom of the cylinder. So fluid will be entering the cylinder through this particular port, and it will be exerting pressure in upward direction. So the piston will be moving in upward direction. So the piston is fitted to the piston rod, and piston rod is actually, carrying a load. So therefore, when the piston is moving in upward direction, naturally the load will be also, moving in upward direction. So here the piston is, pushing the load in upward direction. So therefore, they are referred to as it is referred to as a push type cylinder. And similarly, if the supply is cut off into the cylinder, so by virtue of gravity, the piston will begin to move in downward direction, and that is used for bringing the load, or that is used for moving the load in downward direction. So whatever may be the case, these pistons are, these kind of cylinders are used for pushing, loads in upward direction. So therefore, they are referred to as, push type cylinders. And friends, similarly here, this load is coming. This load is coming below the cylinder, and we are providing the pressure port at this particular point. So fluid will be entering the cylinder through this port, and it will be exerting the pressure on the piston in upward direction. So when the piston moves in upward direction, the load will be also moving in upward direction. So here the piston is pulling the load in upward direction, whereas here the piston is pushing the load in upward direction. So friends, that's why this is the reason why these items, they are called as push type cylinders, and this item, it is referred to as pull type cylinders. So in any case, in both the cases, the cylinders are held in vertical position. They are called as vertical cylinders, and fluid pressure is used for moving the piston in upward direction, and gravity force is used for moving the piston in a downward direction, or for returning the piston to initial position. So therefore, they are also called as gravity return cylinders. Simply, they are also called as gravity type cylinders. So friends, normally, cylinders are arranged in horizontal positions, and in some special cases, they're also held in vertical position, also arranged in vertical position for performing lifting operations. So therefore, they are called as vertical cylinders. So fluid pressure for moving piston in upward direction, and gravity force for moving piston in downward, direction. So therefore, they are referred to as gravity return cylinders. So friends, this is about the construction and working of vertical cylinders. And friends, here we can see the complete assembly of the cylinder. So let us identify the various parts of the cylinder. So the parts of the cylinder are given in this particular slide. So cylinder consisting of barrel, piston rod, front cover of the cylinder, rear cover of the cylinder, front plate of the piston and rear plate of the piston, and cushion nose of the cylinder, cushion collar of the cylinder, and piston rod bearing, and tie rods with bolts and nuts. And in addition to all these items, a return spring will be used for operating, is essential for operating single acting cylinders. So friends, these are the various components as far as cylinder assemblies are concerned. So friends, this is the arrangement which indicates the this is the arrangement which indicates the construction of the cylinder. So all the details are given in this diagram. So here we can see the main component, that is called as a barrel. And generally this barrel itself, it is called as a cylinder. So all these components put together, it is called as a cylinder assembly. So therefore this item, it is referred to as a barrel of this assembly, and generally called as a cylinder of the assembly. So friends, this is arranged in horizontal direction in this case, and we can see the arrangement of the piston that is arranged inside the cylinder, so that the piston will be moving in to and fro directions for moving the machine tools of the machines in forward and backward directions. So the piston that is arranged inside the cylinder will be continuously moving in to and fro directions. And we can see the arrangement of the piston rod as shown in the figure. So many times we have discussed about this arrangement. So one end of the piston rod is fitted to the piston, and the other end of the piston rod, it is connected to the tool of the machine. Therefore, all these items during the operation of the circuit, all these items will be moving as a single unit. So when the piston moves in forward direction, the tool will be also moving in forward direction. And when the piston moves in reverse direction, naturally the tool will be also moving. Also, it will be also moving in reverse direction. So friends, fluid pressure is used for operating the piston, and ultimately piston is used for operating the tool of the machine. So these are the various components of this cylinder assembly. And now the cylinder is provided with two ends. This is one end of the cylinder, and this is another end of the cylinder. So this end of the cylinder, a cover plate, a cover is used for covering this end of the cylinder, that is called as a front cover of the cylinder, and one more cover is required for closing the other end of the cylinder, that is called as a back rear cover of the cylinder. So friends, generally this barrel, it is covered by means of two covers placed on both the sides. First one for covering the front end of the cylinder, that's why it's called as a front cover of the cylinder, and second one for covering the rear end of the cylinder. That's why it is called as a rear cover of the cylinder or back cover of the cylinder. And similarly, friends, we have to use two plates are used for supporting the piston. So the piston will be moving inside the cylinder. It will have a tendency to swivel in this direction. So therefore, we have to provide supporting elements. So one plate is fitted to the right end of the piston. So that is called as front plate of the piston, and one more plate is fitted on the left end of the piston. So that is called as a back plate of the piston. So two plates are generally fitted on both the sides of the piston for providing balancing of the piston that is arranged inside the cylinder. And similarly, we can see two more elements. This is referred to as a cushion nose, and this is referred to as a cushion collar of the cylinder. So naturally, the piston will be moving, starting at this point, and it will be reaching this point. This is called as IDC of the cylinder. This is called as ODC of the cylinder. So when the piston reaches the ODC of the cylinder, suddenly it will be coming to static position. So we have to make necessary arrangements for absorbing shock intensity of the piston at ODC of the cylinder. So this is called as this element is used for controlling the shock intensity. So that is called as a cushion collar. And similarly, when the piston reaches IDC, it will be coming to static position. So therefore, one more element is fitted on the left-hand side of the piston for absorbing shock intensities at IDC of the cylinder. So the first one called as a cushion collar, and second element that is called as a cushion nose. So cushion collar for absorbing shock intensities at ODC of the cylinder, and the other item for absorbing shock intensities at IDC of the cylinder. So friends, all these elements are not given in generally in diagrams, but we have to note down, all these components are very, very essential for preparing the assemblies of cylinders. And finally, we can see the arrangement of a bearing. So that is arranged inside the front cover of the cylinder. So that is naturally it is used for providing support to the piston rod. So therefore, naturally, without any, fluctuations, the piston rod perfectly it will be moving in horizontal direction. So friends, the bearing is very, very essential for one end of the piston rod is fitted to the piston, and another end is fitted to the tool of the machine. Therefore, we have to make arrangements for supporting this piston rod. Therefore, a bearing is arranged inside the, for this purpose, a bearing is arranged inside the front cover of the cylinder. So friends, we have to make, all these arrangements. And finally, we can see the arrangement of tie rods. So this is one rod, used for connecting front and back covers of the cylinder, and the another tie rod for connecting again the front and back covers of the cylinder. So this number of tie rods, they are, they will be coming above the circumference of the cylinder for joining this two covers of the cylinder. So we can see bolt and nut, bolts and nuts, arrangements of bolts and nuts also in this diagram. So different it depends upon the depending upon the number of tie rods. Number of tie rods depends upon the diameter of the cylinder, and this number of bolts depends upon the number of tie rods. So ultimately, bolts and nuts they are used for connecting both the covers of the cylinder with tie rods and all these items. So friends, these are the various items required for preparing the assembly. And now here we can see the ports of the cylinder. This is the first port of the cylinder, made of course at the left hand side of the piston, but this is made inside the in the rear cover of the cylinder, and this is second port is made in the front cover of the cylinder. So this is the arrangement of general arrangement of a double acting cylinder. So in the case of a single acting cylinder, one port, only one port will be made on the left hand side of the piston, and no port will be available here, and we have to arrange a return spring has to be arranged inside the body of the cylinder. So friends, in the case of a single acting cylinder, we have to indicate only one port at the rear cover of the cylinder, and we have to provide a return spring inside the cylinder. But whereas in the case of a double acting cylinder, we have to indicate one port at the rear cover of the cylinder and another port at the front cover of the cylinder. So friends, these are the various elements that are very essential for constructing the assembly of cylinders. So cylinders consisting of barrels, piston rod, front cover of the cylinder, rear cover of the cylinder, front plate of the piston, rear plate of the piston, cushion nose that is fitted to the right hand side of the piston, cushion collar fitted at left hand side of the piston, and tie rods for joining tie rods with the nuts and bolts. Essential for joining the covers of cylinders. And finally, the bearing, very essential for supporting the piston rod, which is arranged inside the cylinder, and also which is extended to outside the cylinder. So friends, all these arrangements we have to make, all these items for preparation of this cylinder assemblies. And as I've already told you, in the case of single acting cylinder, return spring has to be used only for single acting cylinder. It is not required for a double acting cylinder. So, and again, one port is made for single acting cylinder at a rear cover, and in the case of a double acting cylinder, two ports are essential for double acting cylinder. So first port made at rear cover of the cylinder, and second port is made at front cover of the cylinder. So friends, these are the various arrangements to be done in different cases. So whatever may be the case, in most of the cylinders, we have to provide all these components: cylinder, piston rod, front cover, rear cover, front plate, rear plate, cushion nose, cushion collar, tie rods with bolts and nuts, and bearing for supporting piston rod, and also return spring, for return spring for performing the operation of single acting cylinders. So friends, in this session, we have discussed about the various types of cylinders: single acting cylinders, double acting cylinders, double rod cylinders, gravity return cylinders, diaphragm cylinders, and of course information is given pertaining to telescopic cylinders. So that and all will be seeing in the coming sessions. So in the coming sections, we can take up the study of duplex cylinders, tandem cylinders, telescopic cylinders, and ram cylinders. So that and all, we can cover all these topics in coming sessions. But in this class, we have discussed about the major assemblies of these cylinders, essentially used for hydraulic and pneumatic circuits. So friends, with this we are coming to the end of the section. So thank you all for watching the session, and thank you so much.